alright, and I just want you.
All right, welcome back. This is Talk 1380 WA. The voice of the community. Call in 404-892-2703. Get you involved in the conversation. Still with us is Dr. Umar Johnson. So, Dr. Umar, next segment, I want to take some questions from the audience. Can you give us a quick update on the school? We saw the video of the new campus you guys have bought. So, what are the next steps?
Yes, sir. As you know, we acquired the two schools on February the 7th of 2019. We had been held up all year, attorney, because we couldn't find the original design blueprints for the campus, which is still a mystery because the school was actually built from the ground not more than 10 years ago. So why can't we find the mechanical blueprints? Nonetheless, we finally caught up with the architect who did them. And so now they are in the hands of my architect in Wilmington, black architect. And so he now has to update the plans according to 2020 code, plumbing, electric, HVAC, and mechanical. He's working on that, which should be done early July, at which time we're going to start fielding offers from various tradesmen, plumbers, electricians, as well as HVAC experts who can come in and do the work, and hopefully we get a good price from each of those three. I want the school to be renovated because we're working on the Garvey building, the small school. I'm hoping that it'll be renovated before winter comes back around. I'm looking at a deadline of November 11th, which is the memorial of when Nat Turner was hanged. So I'm hoping to have the small school renovated by then. And then once we get the small school up and running, we'll then focus on the larger school, which is right across the street, but that's going to take much more money. So right now, we're in a good space. We're moving forward. I'm just waiting for the architect to finish updating the design blueprints.
All right, and so what can people who want to help out, all these corporations are talking about giving money to black organizations, how can people get involved, how people can help out, and have any of these corporations actually reached out to help you?
Oh, great point, attorney. I'm glad you said that because I forgot to mention that we recently obtained our tax-exempt status. So the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy is a tax-exempt organization, which means donations can be written off on people's tax returns. So, yes, anyone who knows of a black business, entertainer, entrepreneur who wants to write some money off for a good cause, please, please, please donate to the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy. They could get on their Cash App at $FDMG School on the Cash App. That's $FDMG School, or they can mail them in to FDMG Academy, P.O. Box 9634, Wilmington, Delaware, 19809. And we will need those donations because from what I'm seeing with the HVAC repair, we have to replace the air conditioners on the roof that were vandalized during the 4 years that the school was closed. So we will need a little bit more capital than what we have.
And so as we're talking about these, about the protest, what can we be doing to make them more effective? Because what we saw is during the 60s, we had everyone and their mama were protesting, but very few were actually as effective as Dr. King and the Southern leaders. What can we do to be more effective in our protests to make sure our voices aren't simply just being wasted in this Kairos moment?
Great point. Three things that the Dr. King protest, the civil rights movement of the 60s had that the current 2020 black protests for justice do not have. Number one, they had identified leadership. Identified leadership. You knew who were the responsible people. You knew who the spokespersons are. The current protests do not have any identified official leadership, and they don't have any spokespersons. That's number one. Number two, they had a platform. You knew exactly what they wanted. Okay, if they wanted to desegregate public accommodations. They wanted to make sure that the schools were going to be desegregated. They wanted to do something about police brutality. They were very clear on their agenda. Current protests, there is no platform out there. I haven't seen anything anywhere. From the first day that we took to the streets in Minneapolis, attorney, there should have been T-shirts, there should have been posters, there should have been signs with the 10 demands that black America is looking for, so the whole world was crystal clear on exactly what we were protesting for. And number three, control the narrative. Dr. King made it a point to control the narrative. The Southern Christian Leadership Conference out of Atlanta made it a point to control the narrative. We are not controlling the narrative. This narrative is totally being controlled by white folks.
And that's what we've seen with the defund the police, where that came out of just kind of nowhere, just kind of showed up. I didn't hear any black folks talking about defunding the police before this started, and now that's kind of the Cassia Belli, the reason for being of this. So, what would be your charge? What do you think should be that agenda? What do you think the things that we are fighting for and demanding for? What should those be? If we were to, say we're going to send Dr. Umar to the White House to speak on behalf of black folks, what would be the things you would demand from Trump and from the power structures be?
Number one, mandatory minimum sentences for police who unjustifiably kill black people. It is a mandatory minimum sentence, and it is a hate crime. If you notice, attorney, you haven't heard anyone, not Al Sharpton, not Ben Crump, not the CBC, not the SDLC, not the NAACP, not the Urban League. You haven't heard anyone speak on mandatory minimum sentences for police who kill unarmed black folks. Not yet, in 4 weeks. Why haven't that conversation taken place? Number two, the schools in our communities, all the public schools that have been shut down, they get turned over to the black community. And then they will be used by black farmers to come in to help us build organic, fresh produce markets for black people, because many of our communities are food deserts. If the white supermarkets and the poppy shops closed down, many of our families would not eat. On top of that, we also need to build black hospitals. Some of those schools will be converted into hospitals. We need that. In addition to that, something has to be done about the gentrification of the black community, the pushing out of black people out of their own neighborhood. And it's ironic, too, attorney, because an article came out in one of the major newspapers a couple of weeks ago talking about the homelessness rate for African Americans is at one of its highest points has ever been since the end of slavery. But they did not connect the rising homelessness in the African American community to the gentrification movement. And then on top of that, something needs to be said about access to wealth. Reparations, but not only reparations. Until reparations package has been decided upon, there needs to be a conversation on making sure these banks where many of our tax dollars are stored are being equitable in the distribution of loans and grants to African Americans. There's so much that we should be asking for, and we're not asking for none of it.
All right, we're going to talk more about this after the break and take questions from our callers. Call in 404-892-2703. Get you involved in the conversation. News and Talk 1380 WAOK. 1380 WAOK, the voice of the community. Call in 404-892-2703. Get you involved in the conversation. Still Dr. Umar Johnson. We're going to go to the phone lines. We're going to talk to Ezekiel on Bankhead. Ezekiel, go ahead.
Good afternoon, brothers. And good afternoon and happy Father's Day to all the fathers. I just want to say real briefly that I really enjoyed the show today, brother. And, I plan on a trip to Africa myself next year and to Ethiopia for a number of different reasons. But, discussing now dealing with economics, one of the strategies and tactics I thought about to help keep the money in the black community would be, trying to buy out franchises of large, corporate companies like Walmart, gas stations, grocery stores, those supermarkets. So we can at least have some measure of the money stand in the community where somebody, black organization or individual that has the money, could buy franchises so that people don't look like us aren't taking all the money out. What do you think about that aspect, having that as at least a part of some sort of economic movement?
All right, Dr. Johnson.
Okay, I'm not against it, but that's a Band-Aid, not a solution. And I say that for three reasons. Number one, if we buy into a franchise, the white owners of that franchise still control that. So it needs to be independent. Number two, we're still hiding behind a European brand when we should be reconstituting the psyche of black folks to support things that are authentically black. And number three, until you change the value system of African Americans, it's going to be difficult to get them to be loyal to any brand that black people control.
Right. But I wasn't saying stop there. Like you were saying, you wouldn't have to stop there and just continue as a franchise of, white corporate, find some kind of way to buy that out and start your own corporation where you no longer are Wendy's or a Walmart or what have you. Once you get yourself established, you can start your own thing. It don't have to still stay that particular business and name. That was also what I would say a further one down the line. To at least have some measure. I'm not saying it's a solution, total solution, but as some steps towards us not being just consumers, but also producers and distributors. Within, let's face it, this system is exploitative and oppressive. Yeah, we still have to make some sort of way of surviving under it. I'm not saying this is a solution to the exploitation and oppression. Just at least we can get out of under it a little bit.
Thanks for your comment, Ezekiel. And Dr. Umar, what do you think should be the first step when we're working towards getting out of our current condition of servitude? You know, we're in a Kairos moment right now where every corporation on earth, it seems like they want to hand black folks money. The government is handing out stimulus money, the enhanced unemployment. There's SBA programs to get people started in business. What should be step one for getting up out of our current situation?
When you study any historical revolution in history, the Chinese Revolution, Russian Revolution, even the African independence revolutions, two things must be the first steps, and they must occur simultaneously: education and economics. So while you're building your economic infrastructure, you are simultaneously socializing the youth and the community to be loyal to it and to be committed to it. Our problem is we'll focus on the economics to the exclusion of the education. So there's no process in place to transform the minds of black people to make them want to even patronize black people.
And on that point, we talk about the Kairos moment that exists right now. With all these children being out of school and actually having to be homeschooled and home educated by their parents, for once, for the first time in 100 years, we are able to completely shape the educational outcomes of our children. The kids are right here at home. Many parents are working from home in the black middle class. Many students are home from school and high school and from college, and they can actually sit down and have their parents tell them the real deal. You actually have the chance to be the educator. And I see people complaining, oh, they got to get these kids back in school. No, you take this moment, this instant, this opportunity to teach your kids and raise them the way that we have always wanted to do so.
Absolutely. In fact, one of the silver linings in the COVID quarantine situation was the fact that for the first time in a long time, it forced African Americans to take responsibility for their own destiny. You were not able to go to the hair shops. You had to do your own hair. You were not able to go to the supermarket. You had to make your own food. You couldn't go to the restaurant. You couldn't send your child to public school. You had to teach them yourself. So I thought that was a beautiful byproduct of the quarantine situation. I even did a couple of seminars teaching parents how to build a quick but effective homeschool network. And one of the things I'm working on now, attorney, is a national homeschool network that I'm hoping to roll out about the end of the year.
All right. Before we run short on time, tell people about the upcoming projects you have. I know they always takes us a couple minutes to get through, and also how they can, again, help support the school and how they can help support the other projects.
Absolutely. And they can all follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Dr. Umar Johnson, the website, DrUmarJohnson.com. The COVID situation interrupted the Black Parent Boot Camp training, the 12-hour trainings we were going around the country holding, so we had to postpone many of them. But we will be rescheduling those trainings as soon as we get word that it's safe for people to congregate again. We're also focusing on FDMG and getting the Garvey building refurbished. And my second book, Black Parent Advocate, The Art of War for Dealing with America's Public and Charter Schools, will be coming out soon, and you can pre-order that at DrUmarJohnson.com.
All right, now let's talk more about the upcoming book. I did want to touch on that. Tell people what's going to be the difference between this book and the previous book, and what subject matters are you planning on covering in this work?
Great question. The first book, Psychoacademicholocaust, we could look at that as a general philosophical overview of the school to prison pipeline. There's a lot of solutions in it, a lot of solutions in the first book, but this second book is a total practical war manual. So the first book helps you understand the system with some solutions. This second book is totally solutions. How do you react to the school when they want to suspend your child, expel your child, medicate your child, special educate your child? If you want them to pay for your child to get an independent education or an independent evaluation. So this book here is totally how to win against the school when they target your child.
And so, just by way of preview, what are some of the things that are covered and that parents should know coming out of reading this book?
Great question. Number one, we go through the psychological evaluation. So I give you every component of the psychological evaluation so parents will know what should go into a psychological evaluation, and how to evaluate that psychological evaluation. We go through the IEP, the curriculum of special education. What are all the different components of the IEP and what should be included in each section so a parent can look at an IEP and evaluate whether this is a good one or not. Look at a psych eval and evaluate whether it's a good one or not. Look at a behavior plan and evaluate whether it's a good one or not. And the bulk of the book, attorney, is letters, the actual letter that you should submit to the school whenever they make a request for this, that, or something else.
All right, one more time before we go, how can people follow you on social media and what the name of the book so they can pre-order?
Twitter and Instagram at Dr. Umar Johnson. The name of the book is Black Parent Advocate, The Art of War for Dealing with America's Racist Public and Charter Schools. And you can order at DrUmarJohnson.com. Do not purchase my books off Amazon. The Amazon copies are bootlegs. I'm an independent publisher. You can only get my books from me.
All right.